Well, first today we head to Russia, where 2 suicide blasts have rocked the country in just 2 days. Now, the first attack took place on Sunday in the city of Volgograd, south of Moscow, at a busy commuter train station. Now, this footage, taken from local CCTV, shows the moment that the blast shook the main facade of the building, killing at least 16 people and injuring more than 40 when it detonated just after midnight local time. Now, one of the injured, a 9-year-old girl, lost her mother in the attack. Police say that a female suicide bomber jumped over the metal detectors at the station, which triggered the device, made of 22 pounds of TNT and lined with shrapnel, according to local authorities. Volgograd Station, formerly known as Stalingrad, is an historically significant landmark in Russia and also acts as a major rail hub for commuters travelling in and out of Moscow. However, there was no quiet for Volgograd in the wake of the attack. Less than 24 hours after Sunday's brutal bombing, another bomb exploded in the city. A trolley bus was targeted and at least 14 people were killed when a similar device was detonated in an attack reportedly by members of the same persons of groups responsible for Sunday's bombing. Now, the acts of violence and terror, of course, come just weeks before the Olympic Winter Games, which are due to be held in Sochi at the start of February. Well, joining me now is Roland Oliphant, Moscow correspondent for the UK's Daily Telegraph newspaper, currently in Volgograd. Thanks for joining me, Roland. Can you hear me, Roland?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Fantastic. OK, so now, Roland, you're there. Can you just give us an idea of, what it's been like on the ground? Are people sort of scared? What's the general mood?
There's a weird kind of sense of spooky semi-curfew on the streets here, actually. I've just been down to the railway station, then I visited the site of this morning's bus bombing. Both areas, there's a very heavy military and police presence, troops patrolling the streets, many people bringing flowers to lay at both sites. But the streets are kind of semi-deserted. The authorities shut down all of the major shopping centres, all of the major markets immediately after this morning's bomb, fearing that there would be an attack at any kind of place where people gather. So there's a sense of fear, certainly, but there's also a certain sense of calm. If you speak to people, they generally say, yes, we're afraid, but, what can we do? We might get run over, by a car walking to work. I'm not going to stop using the buses. I've got to live my life.
Right, and you sort of mentioned earlier that there had yet been no claims of responsibility. Is there any more speculation as to who might be behind the attacks?
I mean, we don't really have to speculate that much. As far as I'm aware, no one has yet claimed responsibility, but this has the hallmarks, the fingerprints of this ongoing insurgency in the North Caucasus that's really been going on since Russia fought 2 wars against Chechen independence in that region in the 1990s and early 2000s. That insurgency, which started as a nationalist independence movement, has mutated into an extremely, frankly, unpleasant Islamist jihadist group that's seeking to establish what they call an emirate across the region. The fact no one has claimed responsibility, I think, speaks to the fact that as an organisation, that terrorist movement is pretty much degraded and now operating in small cells, which are much harder for the Russian security services to penetrate. And as a result, we didn't have any warning of this.
And, we sort of heard that Russia's Interior Ministry has been asking for FSB operatives, that is the organisation that succeeded the KGB, of course, to intervene in security operations in Russia. And they've set out to assure the Russian public and those travelling to Russia for the security games that security is a priority. But, just how is this likely to affect the games in the run-up to Sochi?
I think the biggest influence on the games is going to be fear. It's certainly going to scare people, and it might deter people from arriving at the games. Let's bear in mind they've hit a bus, which is municipal kind of transport, but they also hit a major rail hub, and that's going to cast question marks over the security of the transport people are going to use to get to the games. It doesn't mean they're going to hit the games themselves. I think you have to give the Russian security service credit. They really put a ring of steel around Sochi and, touch wood. That's enough to deter the terrorists who don't really have the tradecraft to infiltrate that tight security cordon around Sochi itself. But they are able to strike other areas, such as Volgograd. So unfortunately, there is this fear that they will continue to pursue this campaign of terror as the Olympics approach.
Well, Ronan Oliphant, Moscow correspondent for the Daily Telegraph, thanks so much for joining me.